All right, welcome everyone to another session at Orbit this week. We have an amazing session lined up for you today. We have 3 storage providers that will participate in a panel session on what it takes to be a storage provider. We'll address a couple of topics that are on most of the storage providers' minds these days. But first, before we start, it would be good to see what happened in the last year. So much growth happened in the network, and Jim Pick is with us here today, who built a nice overview that we're going to look at right now. And Jim, go ahead, kick it off for us. Show us what happened in the last year, starting 2020, August 24.
Okay, so this is a visualization I made as part of my Provider Quest project, and it's a hit play here, and this is showing a year's worth of power growth from the storage providers. And this video runs for 90 seconds. The red providers are the new ones, and after 3 months, as they grow and grow and grow, I show them in yellow here.
Awesome.
Okay, I'm going to switch over. Yeah, I'm going to switch over to my second video, which is a different view. It's only 2 weeks worth of data, and it is public. You can see published deals, so clients storing files onto providers. And one thing to note here is I don't know where the clients are, so I've just sort of randomly allocated them around the world. And yellow is Filecoin Plus deals, and blue is regular deals. And the thickness of the lines are the size of the file or the deal, and each little one is a separate deal.
Awesome. Great to see the momentum pick up.
And if you want to actually play with these interactively, you can type provider.quest into your web browser, and it'll take you to the project where I'm doing all the data collection and visualization work. And everything's open source, and all the data is open.
That's great. Love how you see the acceleration of blue as well, where Filecoin Plus is yellow, as you said, and regular deals are blue. So it's great to see a lot of blue deals as well in the system.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it evolves over time.
All right, great overview, and thank you so much. So definitely the first graph, very visual, very, and the second too, but to see the growth of storage providers coming from the east to the west, and now definitely accelerating. Not just in growth, but also in taking deals and actually storing useful data on the network, which is fantastic. So today, who do we have with us? We have with us Julianne Noel from France. We have Jonathan Hooker from Australia and Simon Campbell from the US. Thank you, all 3 of joining me today. We are very blessed to have you. And I know that you're dialing in from different continents. So fantastic to see the commitment. The goal of today's session is really just to talk a little bit more casually about what the topics are that are on storage providers' minds. So first and foremost, let's talk about maybe pricing, Julien. What I think is interesting about your business is that you're not just a storage provider, storing data, but you're also a software provider. One of the things that you've identified in the last couple of months is that there was sort of a gap, or there was tooling required for storage providers to set the price, right? As we just saw, you had the verified deals or the verified deals or Filecoin Plus deals and the unverified deals. So can you tell us a little bit more about why you built that tool and how it helps other storage providers in setting that price? We cannot hear you, Julia. You're probably on mute. That horrible mute button. I know.
Hear me?
Perfect. Now we can hear you. Go ahead.
I did nothing. Okay. I was just saying, yeah, thank you. That's a lot of questions, actually. So just a bit of background, just to explain why I built that solution. So I deep dive into Filecoin because actually I was amazed by the beauty of IPFS and which is the underlying protocol of Filecoin, and the vision. So when I started to join the community, that was as a miner, and monitoring a Filecoin miner was not an easy task. So it's basically you spend day watching a screen and night. So I didn't want to stay behind my PC all the time. So I decided just to create real-time graphical interface with the community. And now this interface is used by more than 400 miners. And I really enjoy building this tool with the community. So this is where I started to have the idea just to build another tool for the next challenge that came to us, which was the storage deals. So actually, when you start to enable storage deals, you face a lot of things. The first thing is it's very time consuming. And Lotus actually is not designed to handle a variety of clients with different pricing and different type of deals. So that's the first problem, is that you need to treat all your clients the same way. You need to communicate on site just so people know that you want to accept deals, and then you need to connect to brokers platforms so they can send deals to you. And also you need to take care of your reputation, because actually you are not just committing capacity now, you have a relationship with clients. So it's less predictable than just committing capacity, but actually if it's well managed, it drastically increases the power growth with exactly the same hardware. So that's a good point. And also that's the finality of the protocol, is to store data, not just to commit capacity. So when actually what we design with CID Gravity is we design a product to provide through a very simple web interface a way for storage providers to manage their deal flow. So they can set pricing very granular per client, per size, and so on. They also can protect their miners by setting some deal rates limits, or block specific clients, or go to maintenance mode so they don't receive deals during their maintenance. And they automatically inform the brokers, so you keep your high reputation because they're not sending deals to you because they know that at that time you're not expecting deals. So we integrate the large brokers, and actually when you use CID Gravity, you can directly receive deals from the brokers. You don't have to keep. So that's the main idea behind CID Gravity, is just to reduce the time you spend behind your PC just to accept deals and get a very huge increase of your power. So today, during the last 2 months, we analyzed more than 650,000 deals.
Wow, that's amazing. Is it like a set and forget? Right, you set your price, you can go off and do something else, and that's what I'm hearing, exactly. Right?
And
it's
when
awesome.
you get a new client and you deal with him and you want some specific price, you just go back to the interface, set the price for that specific client, and it's done. And then you can just look at your report and do something else. Yes, that's really the idea. And we do that we are not in the middle between the client and the storage providers. They are still dealing directly together. We are just a third party that the storage provider is verifying the price when he's receiving the client request, which means that we are keeping the decentralized way of Filecoin and how it's designed today.
Fantastic. Awesome. No, this is a perfect example of how we can help make it easier for customers to store data and also providers to accept deals, which is what we want to hear. And as you can see, I mean, this is a perfect example, again, of evolution and innovation that happens within the storage provider ecosystem itself. Maybe shifting gears a little bit, Jonathan. Jonathan, you're calling us from Australia. You're obviously, when I looked at the map, I saw one point, a big dot in Australia. My assumption is that is one of your Filecoin systems. You have recently been accepted as a notary, so you're part of the notaries now. And earlier on this year, we rolled out Filecoin Plus, right? We saw the map of deals of Filecoin Plus that Jim showed us. But can you tell us a bit more about what the benefits are and what storage providers should be looking for when, or how to take advantage of Filecoin Plus?
Yeah, sure. So, Stefan, thanks for inviting me today. So there's some great speakers. Let me give you a quick background about Holon and the three divisions that will bring clarity to that question. So we've got Holon Global Investments, which is the asset management side of the business. That has an AFSL, which is our notary position. We have Holon Innovations, which is the storage provider. We invest in Web3 infrastructure. And we also have a VC arm that invests in next generation businesses. So how clients and storage providers work together gives notaries confidence in their Filecoin application, and it will energize notaries and the ecosystem to support their vision long term. If I break this down, how we do it at Holon, as a storage provider on the Holon innovation side of the business, we need to find a client that wants to be a Web3 enthusiast and that wants to go on this epic journey, right? We need a client that wants to be part of the movement. We're about to run a proof of concept with RMIT, the Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology. RMIT loves Filecoin, that it gives them more transparency and more optionality on their data storage and verifiable attributes. So with RMIT, we're designing new payment models. We're working with them. What does verifiable functionality, how does that look for their professors for this new data storage solution? And how do they ultimately use this new data storage solution? So as a storage provider, when you build this great rapport with clients, it really comes through in their Filecoin Plus application and energizes the ecosystem, right? And it kind of like this news travels through the ecosystem really fast. And at this moment in the life cycle of the network, passion and energy is everything, right? So that's really how storage providers can work closely with clients, so clients really get the best out of Filecoin Plus and the ecosystem.
That's awesome. Passion and energy is everything. I love that. So talking about business, right? Basically, if you're building a Filecoin system or you're running a Filecoin system, it's more than just running it for block rewards, right? All of us are, as you said, we're looking for people that are aligned with our mission, clients that are aligned with our mission. And maybe it's a good question for Simon. You have a lot of experience in helping startups and incubating new technologies. So you're running a Filecoin system, you're running a business, right? How do you recommend storage providers to think about their business in a way that, you know, is sort of like helping them to differentiate and maybe collaborate together with some of the startups that are being built on the Filecoin network?
Yeah, it's interesting. So as you said, Stefan, my background has been in starting technology businesses and then moving across onto that half and half, where I was helping to scale technology startups. And what's super interesting, DSM in partnership with DLTX is now building a really large kind of Filecoin storage element. And when we think about how that's going to succeed, our success is 100% aligned with that of Protocol Labs and the entire ecosystem. So from our perspective, I always think about the end goal of the customer. So a lot of what Jonathan's talking about is really resonating. You've got to understand that a successful ecosystem has customers that are happy and you're providing solutions that they need. And so in the middle of that, you've got applications similar, Julian's application and many others examples like who's going to create, the Dropbox for Filecoin and all of these other interfaces. So as a storage provider, yes, we're providing storage to the ecosystem, but the best thing we can do is to engage with the Techstars Filecoin Accelerator, the Tachyon guys, get engaged with the startups that are building applications, and then provide them with two things. Yes, investment and capital is great, but in reality, how do we help them to interface with customers? How do we help them to bring customers on board and to really test their applications and make sure that its market, has product market fit? So I would say that it's more valuable. I always, rather than investment and advice for my startups, it was practical, hands-on, go-to-market support that was the most valuable thing for them. So if we have large networks, whether it's investors, whether it's customers, how do we help that middleware layer to engage with the customers?
Great answer. I totally agree with you. Today it's like you're building a solution, right? You're offering solutions to end customers. And so, that solution is a combination of, Filecoin plus something else that truly brings value to the end user. Now, what use cases and verticals, are there any verticals that stand out, or use cases where you go like, okay, well, that is sort of like a good entry level or a focus area right now that providers should focus on?
Yeah, I think there's two parts to this. There's kind of today and then there's tomorrow, right? So today, obviously, there's a really strong business proposition for archive storage data. Startups themselves are obviously, there's a lot of startups building on top of the different protocols, on top of the blockchain protocols, and they're going to be the most innovative kind of early adopters. But then you've got a lot of archive storage data, whether it's think of the kind of the Google Earth type models. You've got universities, you've got medical facilities that just have to store data in high volumes and kind of have it sat there as data sets. I think what's super exciting kind of coming next is this compute over Filecoin space, right? When you start to say, how do you enable things like AI algorithms to engage with large data sets? So those large data sets are going to be sat in long-term storage, but then you want to be able to pull them down, interrogate them, and put them back again. And I think that's where we're going to see a kind of a huge leap forward in the ability of Filecoin to service this huge marketplace that goes beyond just that first step, which is the archive piece.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think a lot of our conversations today actually with enterprise customers or research institutes are exactly, focused on that particular aspect. And that's the lack of funding for storing, large unstructured data sets because there's just no budget, or because there is no technology that will support, the way they want to store it and the way they want to preserve it. And so, as you can see today, what we're seeing is a lot of our customers storing data on Filecoin or looking to store data on Filecoin are looking at 3 to 5 copies, right? And so that's very unique in the sense that you can distribute it. And so with any use case, any enterprise client open data set that comes onto the Filecoin network, you automatically see multiple storage providers benefiting from that. So I would assume that this is I've seen the community be extremely collaborative and very strong in like making this work together. So would you agree with that, Simon, that it's a very strong community and you're building relationships within the community that help us build the network together?
Yeah, I think traditionally, if you look at any large technology, you would say in the past platform and now protocol, right? It is an ecosystem play, and collaboration is learning. From a storage provider's perspective, you're never going to be the single storage provider that serves everyone, right? You need to be able to have multiple locations, backups, and through collaboration, you learn and push the whole business forward. There's a constant feedback loop with Protocol Labs, with the underlying technology, Lotus technology. And then what we're doing is interfacing. Julian's a great example of this, where he's sitting there as a storage provider saying, I have a need. And therefore, if I have this need, I think some other guys are going to have this need. And so then you can collaborate and say, we're talking to Julian, not just kind of on investing, but also saying, okay, how do we help thinking about different user journeys, right? What are the next parts of the platform? What are the things that will be the next 2 or 3 development cycles that will enable us as storage providers to do even more, but also through to the customer, at the end. So getting engaged with customers in the ecosystem is, and this energy that Jonathan talks about, right? It's exactly what happens in these early days, and that's what drives the success of the overall business. Was for it to succeed, everything needs to succeed, and we all need to succeed with it.
Awesome. Yeah, totally agree. Anyone else wants to comment on that? Julien or Jonathan? Yep. Okay. Well, we'll go to the next question. Maybe let's shift gears a little bit. We have like 3,300 storage providers right now. It's amazing, right? Every day we're growing. 5 to 10 new storage providers are coming on board. You saw sort of the introduction. I mean, I want to see next year that whole map be yellow as much as we can. But if you think about the next 3 years, and in all honesty, I think it's already accelerated, and discussions already are going down that direction. But if you look at running a storage provider environment, you're running a business, right? We talked about that. You're running, a service. You're providing a service to your customers, and so it's my belief that we're kind of building, these new levels of infrastructure as a service that are built on multiple blockchains. And Filecoin is sort of like the foundation, or a very foundational piece of that sort of lays the foundation for a fully decentralized data center. And so I think, Simon, you kind of mentioned it, right? You already mentioned the compute side. And so we'd love to get, Jonathan, maybe you can take this question, but we'd also like to hear from Julien and Simon on this. But where do we think the next 3 years, what do you think the next 3 years will look like for, our storage provider network? And do you kind of agree with that, approach of, us building a decentralized data center?
Yeah, definitely. If I think if self-sovereign data takes off and IPFS, Filecoin, and DAO structures come to fruition as I expect, I think Filecoin, we could see Filecoin being the world's database, which is a big call, right? But this will have a significant impact on the world. I went through my own LastPass the other day, and I counted 25 sites that have my home address, right? In Web3, where they keep all my data and they're storing it, those 25 platforms have 3 redundant copies. That's 34,000 bytes of information on one data point, right? In Web3, where I own and control my own data, and I decide to have 3 redundant copies, and where I store it, that's 1,300 bytes of information. That's a 25x reduction in the power and physical hardware needed to store that data point. And I get ownership and control over that data, right? That model will be a massive impact for the world's citizens. And if I think we're an investment firm, so we look at all the companies in the world that they're innovating in every industry. If we just look at the data creation in autonomous cars and the genomics data about to explode, as a world, we need to free up data resources for these new industries. And if Filecoin being the world's database, that kind of gets me really excited.
Awesome. Yeah, all of us, definitely, now that we have more than 12 exabytes, sitting out there. It's amazing, like, as you mentioned, right? There's an explosion of data happening. It's been happening for a while, but it's only accelerating. And it's up to us to kind of convince the world that, decentralized storage architectures are the way to go, and Filecoin is the foundation for that. So thank you, John, for driving that. Julien or Simon, any other comments on where you see the 3 years, where do you see Filecoin being 3 years ahead of this?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Julien.
Yeah, so there is this number that said that by 2025, there will be 175 petabytes of data that are going to be produced, and the cloud can only handle 5% of it. And that means that that's a huge opportunity for us, and we bring a lot of value on that. So, this is decentralization, this is control over the data, this is data verifiability. And all of this is amazing, and I really think we are going to succeed and take a big chunk of this.
Yeah, my board on that is there's a lot of innovation and build that comes on top of having a huge amount of decentralized unstructured data, right? There's the how do you structure the unstructured, how do you make it usable, how do you provide that end service, and in many cases a service that meets the requirements of new technologies and new customers. And so that's the opportunity for Filecoin, really, I think, is you haven't got the historical architectures and the challenges of like the old airlines when the new airlines came in, right? So we can build for today and tomorrow versus relying on what was there before.
Awesome. With that, I couldn't have said it any better than you, Simon. So great tagline. Thank you all for joining today. I know we're at the hour here, but I really appreciate it. Hope to see you again next year, and with an updated map, but a ton of more use cases and a ton more growth in the network. So appreciate everyone joining, and we'll see you in the next session.